Most Minecraft players have built mega bases, but what about mega structures, or even feats of stellar engineering? According to Wikipedia, the most accurate and unbiased source of information, stellar engineering is defined as anything bright enough to cause OBS not to record in 60 frames per second. More specifically, a stellar engine is a type of megastructure used to harness the entire power output of a star, something like a Dyson Sphere. But Dyson Spheres come in a variety of designs for different uses, which is why I'll actually be building 3 types of them today. This type of megastructure gets its name from the accomplished physicist and mathematician Freeman Dyson, the first person to create a concrete conceptualization of such a structure, which appeared in a 1960s paper. However, various forms of Dyson Sphere-esque megastructures have been appearing in works of fiction since even before the 1960s paper, and now you can find them in numerous books and games, including the Halo franchise, although that won't be the major focus of this video. The most common use for Dyson Spheres is energy collection, for when fusion reactors just won't cut it for civilization's energy needs, and you also have the capability to put giant solar panels around a star. So this is the first type I'll be building, the energy collection type. As far as measurements go, since I'm building a sphere, the only measurement that really matters here is diameter, a diameter of 527. You may notice that it's larger than the normal height of a Minecraft world, which would only be 384. I've increased the world height using the data pack to accommodate larger spheres. In a perfect world, I'd make one gigantic sphere thousands of blocks in diameter, but increasing the world height much beyond what it is now causes way too much lag. I found this rendition of a Dyson Sphere comprised of 7 intertwined rings, and I think I'll go with this design for Type 1. Right here, I'm working on a simple proof of concept using 1 block thick diamond rings. The tricky part is the angled rings. The diameter of the rings centered on one axis is an odd number. When you take rings and angle them by 45 degrees, the diameters become even numbers. So some of these rings won't be lined up by 1 block. How unsatisfying. And if you're wondering how I get everything to line up at all, or close to lining up, everything here is centered on 0, 0 in the world, and each ring is generated or pasted from the exact same spot as everything else. Regardless, this is pretty cool to look at. I also accidentally created a neat pattern in the center of the rings that perfectly visualizes about the size of the star I'm going to be building. New world, let's get the full-sized sphere started. I've got 1 placeholder ring, albeit larger than the last, so I'm ready to build a star. It shouldn't be too hard because I routinely build stars with 1 hand while reading books on long-term investing strategies. This star is entirely randomly generated layers of blocks except for the little solar flares, which I had to somehow figure out how to build myself. It's very tedious. There's an additional invisible layer of light blocks coating the outside of this build to make the entire thing bright and glowing. And since OBS can't seem to encode this with shaders in 60 FPS, it must be a tremendous build. That does look pretty cool up there, even during the day. And it'll look even cooler once there's 7 rings laid with solar panels encircling it, using this pattern that I've developed right here. Everything was going smoothly through the first 3 rings up until ring number 4, the first angled ring. When I tried to rotate my ring by 45 degrees, I discovered, much to my chagrin, that World Edit turned it into Swiss cheese. Best of all, angled rings 6 and 7 are angled on a different axis. Not only will I have to repair another Swiss cheese ring, it'll be Swiss cheese on a different axis. Instead of holes being generated penetrating vertically, the holes will generate horizontally. If that made 0 sense, the next time lapse will make it clear, I hope. There really should not be snow up here. You may have noticed already, but there is a solid layer of light source blocks coating the inside of the rings, thus making it look as though the star is providing illumination outward. Of course, this look will be much simpler to achieve in Blender, although it works surprisingly well here. Better than I expected. On to Dyson Sphere Type 2, the Habitable Sphere. This Dyson Sphere will be constructed from 3 rings, however each ring will be much bigger than Type 1, and essentially its own mini ring world. The construction process is a very scaled down version of what I did in my previous MEGASTRUCTURE video where I built the 3000 block diameter ring world. I've started with a simple artificial base for terrain to sit on. It's long enough to accommodate 1/4 of a ring once bent into shape. 3 rings will be assembled from 12 ring quarters in total. I've obtained 3 long stretches of terrain ripped from another Minecraft world to serve as my terrain for the rings. As usual, I will show literally none of this process, as it's endlessly boring and it crashes my game a lot. The first quarter is now in position within the frame and is ready to be curved, and as you can see, I've already got my diamond block curve guide ready to go, and if you have no idea what I'm about to do, well, you're in for a surprise. Here is one of the 3 rings, but it's not a ring yet. It's more of a wave, actually. I have to figure out how to position myself relative to each quarter in order to rotate and join them together correctly. Not an easy task. Once I get a row of 15 diagonal gold blocks on this side, I'll know that I positioned the new side correctly. Despite the lag, I've managed to count 15 blocks, meaning 2 sides are lined up. Time to restart my game. 1 ring world is complete and positioned around the star. 2 more to go. This is the Habitable Dyson Sphere. Constructed from 3 interconnected ring worlds, this megastructure is equipped with command blocks to automatically switch your gravity as you fully traverse the 3 rings in all directions. I added a layer of light blocks, but it looks a little bit goofy with shaders and the lighting engine hasn't properly updated all segments of this ring, unfortunately, or these rings. It actually looks best viewed from far away with a distant horizons mod rendering because it just makes everything super bright. Right, let's begin the final Dyson Sphere. This is a rather interesting type because it's not just one sphere, it's actually going to be 6 nested spheres. There's another type of hypothetical megastructure known as the Matrioshka Brain. Essentially, it's a star-sized computational system comprised of nested Dyson Sphere computers, each running at a slightly lower temperature in succession. The innermost layer runs the hottest, as it's closest to the star, and radiates waste heat to power the next layer out, and so on. The purpose of such a megastructure is to utilize the entire power output of a star for computational purposes. Maybe, just maybe, a megastructure of this caliber would be able to run some of those 4K Minecraft texture and shader packs. The only thing about this megastructure is that there aren't really any good visualizations of it that are visually distinct from a normal Dyson Sphere like the ones I already built. That means that this time it's up for me to think of a design. I could generate 6 hollow spheres, increasing in size around my star, and call it a day. But then it would look like a blank ball from the outside, so part of the structure will have to be cut away. Over here I've developed a color gradient to represent the decreasing levels of heat of each Dyson Sphere. These blocks only work when combined with light source blocks, and of course everything works best with shaders. But now I need to create 6 hollow spheres all the same thickness, but increasing in diameter by a set amount each time. This shouldn't be hard. There may be a bunch of layers in here, but right now it doesn't matter because you can't tell. So to start, I've punched holes in the poles and around the equator of the structure. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to cut away the rest of the equator while still leaving the existing equator openings with rings connecting the top and bottom half of the sphere. That probably made zero sense because it didn't make sense to me, so let me just show you. So I completely forgot that certain blocks like emerald create reflections, and now I have this accidental incredible effect. I mean, these blocks were just a placeholder, but now I'm not so sure. I think at a minimum, I kinda have to keep these rings a reflective block now. This gap here is already filled in with light blocks and shows pretty well how the other gaps will look once I get all of them filled in. My new favorite part is another accidental pattern that was created on the outside of the sphere. Initially, the outer layer was going to be pretty blank until I noticed a random pattern of leftover blocks on the very outside that was created unintentionally while I was painting the inside. And just like that, I ended up with something pretty neat. Once I finished the entire bottom of this megastructure, I simply copied it and flipped it to complete the upper half. The reflections in these tunnels have been preserved despite the addition of lighting throughout all layers. I've even left the emerald blocks in place despite them initially being a placeholder. Although after some further research, I discovered a few potential alternative reflective blocks in case I don't want green. Blue ice and amethyst blocks look very cool as well. To be honest, I can't actually decide between these three which look best. You'll have to comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Either way, that wraps up the third and final Dyson Sphere for this video. I've had a lot of fun getting to try these different designs, and I'm super interested to see which you guys think is the coolest. And as always, you can get these builds, both schematics and world download, for yourself along with all my other ones over on my Patreon. And if you haven't checked out my other Megastructure videos, I highly recommend them. Oh, and before I forget, here are the block counts for my 3 builds as follows. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and if you made it this far, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It's always very appreciated. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
Am I the only one freaked out by the fact we're inside the planet?